Do you think that The Daily Show functions just as entertainment? I sort of feel like The Daily Show...
I mean...
Yeah. Satire is it's more than entertainment. It is engagement, and it is criticism.
Here's what I would say. I feel more of a kinship to Jerry Seinfeld than I do to, what you guys do or what CNN does or what NBC does, in that he is able to comedically articulate an intangible for people. When they see it, they go, God, it's been in my head, and I know it's been in there, but I've never put it together with that kind of rhythm in 4 levels, and that's hilarious that you were able to articulate that. He is a craftsman at that. Like he's the best at being able to craft those moments of sort of these intangible, esoteric things and put them together into something that really connects with people. We try and do the same thing, but with a more political, social avenue. But it's still, if you were to look at our process, he's much more our process than the news is. Does that make sense?
But what I know of your process seems very similar to the way that I put my show together.
Yeah, you really need to change the way.
I mean,
we have to, because we're parodying a news organization, we have to have the logistics and mechanics of one.
Yeah.
But the process that the material goes through is not a news process. But
it's fact-checking.
Well, we do that, though, not to be journalists. We do that because it wouldn't be that funny.
If it was a lie.
Yeah, people would be like, I think it's pronounced Baltimore, not Baltimore. And, you do that because untrue things stand out like a sore thumb in the...
Even though you identify yourself as fake news and having built with a fake news process.
Yeah.
I think...
No, we don't say fake. I mean, fake is wrong. It's a misnomer that we use, and it's glib. It's not. We're not news anything.
Right.
We're commenting on the news, comedically.
I think that that you think of it differently, but I think a lot of people who watch your show and who watch cable news think of what we do as not being that different, which sucks for me because I used to be the sort of mildly amusing person talking, like using humor to tell the story of the wasteful F-35 second engine on that fighter jet. And now I'm the person trying to be Jon Stewart and sucking.
I love that F-35 that you did. That wasteful engine bit, that killed him. It used to be my bit.
It's even if you're not launching it in the same way, it's being received in the same way, and the barriers between what actually happens on cable news that you're satirizing and what you're doing, we're not seen as being all that different. Is that
the only thing that I would say? It doesn't worry me. I think I can understand how it would worry people in the news, but what I do, I have existed. I am the Highlander. There has been a form of me around in forever, a comedian who, with political and social concepts, criticizes them from a haughty yet ultimately feckless perch, throwing things like that. The box that I'm in has always existed. The box that you're talking about, I think, is new. And so I do think if that's moving towards me, that's okay. But I really feel like I'm on pretty solid ground with the footsteps of my ancestors. That's all, I don't happen if the Smothers Brothers don't happen. Bill Maher, those guys all paved a way for something that I do, but that's always existed.
Jon Stewart is doing his final episode tonight of The Daily Show on Comedy Central. And yes, there's the first Republican presidential debate tonight, too. But honestly, Jon Stewart signing off after 16 years is the thing that's going to go down in history about tonight. The Daily Show happens on a news-like set. When he retires tonight, they're moving the whole set to the Newseum in Washington. Mr. Stewart told me in that interview we did a few years ago that calling his show fake news was not exactly the right term. He wanted his show to be seen as comedic criticism of the news, not as news itself. But that doesn't mean that people haven't been getting their news from Jon Stewart happily for a lot of years now. And then Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert pushed it further. Remember when they did a real live Washington, D.C. rally as a way of making fun of Washington, D.C. rallies by holding a Washington, D.C. rally? I mean, The Daily Show with Jon Stewart has loomed so large. It has been so influential in the media that it has caused a lot of gnashing of teeth and worry over the years about whether the boundaries of real news and comedy were getting too blurred. Right after the 2000 election, you said something I remember it was about George Bush and Dick Cheney. It was right after Bush v. Gore, and you said something to the effect of, Bush said, can we have the recession outside today because the weather's so nice?
Right.
With the idea being that George Bush is an idiot. He's an infantile person who thinks that recess and recession are the same thing. And after the teabag the White House before they teabag you sign goes on Fox News, we talk about what the whole idea of teabagging it is and how funny it is that they don't get what that word choice means. I sort of feel like we're doing the same thing, that essentially you exaggerate in order to be funny or in order to make a point, and everybody understands just a little exaggeration.
That's true.
But there's a commitment. I think we both have a commitment to not lying, to telling the truth even when we are making a point.
As we see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody does. I think I don't doubt that it's genuine. There is a part of me that feels like there is a high-mindedness to news and journalism that doesn't exist. I feel like I do have liberties that you don't have, and I could lose them by stepping into that. And what I would gain in that, I think, is a little bit more dignity. A little bit more, you know what I mean? Like I'd have a little more skin in the game, and I think there's something about that that's more courageous than what we do. So that I very much admire. But I also think, though, that there is a part of me that says, like, these rules have existed for people such as me forever, and we're not the ones bending them. I'm not.
We're getting to be more like you. You're not getting to be more like us.
Kinda.
Until the rally, then you got a little bit more like us.
Yeah, because I felt like in 12 years, I'd earned a moment to tell people who I was.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And this isn't going to be me forever either. And that doesn't mean, I'm going to remember the thing. But in my life, I also try and actually get on the field and help people, just in a different way, just not through the show.
Not through the show. You're a mensch for spending this much time with us.
I am a mensch.
You are a mensch.
It's a Yiddish word, right? Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this, and you can edit this out. I like you. We can have different points about, this is a little bit unfair as it goes in there, and I completely agree. Like, what happens in discourse is not precise.
Yeah.
But what is important, I think, is the place that people come from. And it's important to remember, like, when I do those things, I do try and remember where I think people are coming from, and I'm trying to do better in my life remembering that from even those that I really disagree with.
Yeah.
And I think some of that is based on, the whole idea, I don't know if you know this Iranian journalist, Maziar Bahari, but so he was arrested. And there are, like, as I said in the thing, like, there are real enemies in the world and really just bad, evil things. But there are a lot less of them than we probably, from watching all this stuff, think that there are. And that's all that I just try and remember in my own head to keep saying. Because you got to understand, I watch this stuff like, Clockwork Orange. I'm strapped to a chair with my things, like, it just comes out. It's like if you watch local news all the time, you're going to think something terrible is going to happen in your family a lot. You will feel the fear more than.
I will definitely be afraid of driving for fear of car crashes.
Can I tell you this? Or the intestinal flu. That is. Here's what's the most amazing thing about this interview. I have not thrown up once while we've been doing this. And that is, I believe that may be the longest in 24 hours that I have gone. You, my friend, are like ginger root. You are the ginger root of interviewers in that you have pulled things out of me I never knew were there, and yet still I leave not nauseous.
He had the stomach flu. But he didn't barf right there in the room with me, and I took that as a personal triumph that day, and I carry it with me still. I am a huge, huge fan of Jon Stewart, and I think he is important. I think his work on The Daily Show at Comedy Central has made our country a better country. I think it has made politics more accountable. I think it has made the news media sharper and more self-conscious and ultimately better. This show you're watching here, this host would not be here if it were not for the influence of Jon Stewart on American politics and the American media and his success in doing what he does. And I'm sure that Trevor Noah is going to be great, and I look forward to him, taking over there. But between us, I will miss Jon Stewart on The Daily Show like a house on fire. His last show after 16 years is later tonight. Thanks for all the time, Jon. I really appreciate it. I will shake your hand.
I don't want to do it because I have the Boubons.
Okay.
All right. There you go.
Thanks, Jon.